Welcome to this week's episode of Rewind and Press Forward. My name is Bryant McCain, a.k.a. Busy Being. In the building today, I've got a very, very, very special guest who I can honestly call a good friend of mine. Met this man about 3-4 years ago at a fundraiser or something, whatever it was at the Cowboys Club. We got vibing, and everything has been copacetic ever since. And he is a University of Texas from Elston, you know them. You know what? I'm not going to do it. He does it so much better than me. He'll come horns you. Tony, please explain to us. Give us your dossier. Give us your bio. Give us your background. You see how big he is, so you know he didn't play golf. But go ahead and tell us what you did.
I've been trying to get into it. These labrums not having it though, man. So I think I'm gonna just stick to the cigars and we roll with that.
I agree with you. That's a sport I can now play because I played football for 4 games in high school.
Yeah.
And when somebody's dad put on a football helmet, that wasn't a student. That was somebody's father that put on that football helmet.
Yeah.
And he hit me so hard I became a DJ.
That makes sense,
and
man.
That's what it is, man. So you spent over 10 years in the NFL?
I did. So the story is simplistic, man. Came out of Houston, was born in Mesquite, so shout out Dallas, man. You know, this is where I was born, but raised in Houston, so Houston is home. I was at the Elsik High School, which is in Alief, Texas. So shout out to all my people in the West. Dubs up. Got to keep it real with y'all. And so I was a tight end, man, the number 1 tight end in the state of Texas. From 2000 to 2003 were the years that I was in school. And I was a number 5 player in the country. So I was highly sought after by all of the colleges, right? I had scholarships from everywhere. And so life was good, at that particular point in time. You're just trying to figure out what you want to do. Mm-hmm. But then there's ebbs and flows and ups and downs and turns, injuries, right, that derail things or try to derail things. But God had a different plan. And so through the grace of God, Mac Brown honored my scholarship because I had a really bad injury. And so Mac Brown ended up honoring my scholarship, not knowing if I would ever play the game again or not. So that just goes to show the caliber and character of man he is, right? And so, long story short, man, went to the University of Texas, changed positions from tight end to offensive tackle, and the rest is history, man. A couple national championship, Rose Bowl, Big 12 championships, all bowl game wins, beat OU 3 times out of 4. Like, it was a great time.
Red River. So you go from college and you actually make it to the league.
Yeah.
To where the big boys play.
Yeah, man, I was blessed, man. So I had a short stint in the league, about 10 years.
That's short?
I always mess with people with that.
I was about to say, I thought the average for, especially in that business, is like 3. And it flipped me out to be like, you retired after 3-4 years. I'm like, huh? But when you are subjecting your body to like the force of a pickup truck hitting a train every weekend, I guess that's pretty good career if you can get 3 years out of it. But you got 10.
Yeah, I was blessed, man. That really doesn't happen. And the circumstances around it and the opportunities that were there and that felt like they were slipped, but they were really God maneuvering me for other things. All in all, he gave me a 10-year career. And so the biggest thing that I tell people, because they always ask, like, what is the biggest transition from college to professional sports? I mean, obviously, the competition is different, right? You're playing the best of the best. Game in, week in and week out.
And that's cool because so many people try to tell me, I like college more because they seem more hungrier and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, but if you're taking the top athletes from the college programs and then you putting all of them in one pot, which is the NFL, what does it mean? How much more does that speed up? How much more does that intensify?
Very, very high. And the reason being is because you have to think about the elevation of the athlete, right? Not only is there a physical elevation, right? So from college to you go from college being strong, but then you playing this grown man strength here, right? There's a technical aspect to it now, right? So your technique has to be refined, which is the reason why I love the position, because if not, you're going to get beat every play, right? You're going to get beat regardless, but you're more susceptible of getting beat because your technique is not sound. So there's that aspect. There's a understanding of the game, right? The game within the game. It's not just about understanding who to block or how to block them. It's why are we blocking them? How does that fit into the scheme, the schematics of things, right? Understanding how to read, safety rotations to know what the linebackers are doing, which then dictates how my defensive lineman is going to rush me on this particular play. Like, there's all of these nuances within the game that you have to learn, and those that study it and they apply it and they go after it and they sacrifice for it, because there is a sacrifice to understand how to get good at things like that. Those are the guys that you see in the Pro Bowls, the Hall of Fame, and so much, and making the big money.
And then everything you just said that goes into that technical aspect, that changes every team that you play.
Absolutely.
So when they say you have to watch film and you have to study this team, are you looking specifically, do they have film for just your position? It's not just a big thing, but you have somebody filming for just the position you play so you can figure out how this opposition works?
Yeah.
So you can get ready for Sunday.
Yeah, so there's different things that is broken down. So a typical day is, you play on Sunday, you're off on Monday, you're off. So they call it Victory Monday. So you win, you're off on Monday, and not you got a light little stretch, come in, watch some film, and see what we did wrong, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just say you win off Monday and Tuesday. Not really off days or recovery days, right? We're not doing anything as it pertains to as a team unit, but it's the unwritten rule that you come in and get some work in, right? Whether that's stretching, a little light lift, a light run, something like that to flush the system. On Wednesday, there's a run game installed. So what we think we're going to be able to accomplish in the run game against this particular team, we'll practice that on Wednesday. On Thursday, there's a pass game installed. So same thing, just in the passing game. How do we think we're going to be able to attack them? On Friday, there's a short yardage install, right? So what do we believe, a short yardage in red zone, what do we believe are the highest plays that'll get us to the end zone, right? And then on Saturday, you put it all together by way of a walkthrough. And then on Sunday, you go out and compete. And it's rinse, wash, and repeat. So just the attention to that detail. And then in that, there's position study, there's team study, and then there's matchup. For me, it was a matchup study. And then not just that, it's within that study, what are you looking for? Well, let me go find a player that I identify that we have the same body type, we have the same, pass set, the same way that we run block, we have the same style of play. Let me find out who that particular individual is and see him versus my matchup to understand what things work with the style that we have and what things didn't, and how to basically win more than my opponent, right? So it's all of that breakdown that actually happens within the game.
Which eventually gets you to one of these things called the Super Bowl, which you did.
Yeah, I was.
Win.
You
got you one of them.
I did, man.
You got you one of them.
And honestly, man, it's just being in the right place at the right time, man. And I'm appreciative of it because I got to see what a championship caliber team looks like, and then, 2 years after, we went back again. So we went in 2008.
Yep.
We beat the Cardinals in 2008, the Santonio Holmes catch. We don't make the playoffs in 2009, right? And then we go back to the Super Bowl in against Green Bay, which, we came up a little short against them in 2010. So in my eyes, I'm like, okay, every other year you're supposed to go to the Super Bowl. I never went back.
Right.
Right.
Are you still a Steelers fan? You
absolutely.
Watch Steel Crew? You watch every Sunday how they get down and
absolutely, yeah.
The coach with the face that never changes.
Man, listen, man.
I've never seen that man's face wink, smile. Does he breathe? I mean, like he doesn't have any emotion on his face.
The standard is the standard.
Yeah,
what's expected is to be expected.
Mr. Thomas don't play, bro. Like he is. I enjoy what. Like to me, if you look up the word stoic in the dictionary, it's like every picture of him you could ever imagine. That man he keeps it right there. But you know what? So listening to all what you just said among your intro, your bio.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about now we have STATT Financial.
Yeah.
Because I'm listening to you, but then knowing you, and I've kind of followed you and been involved in your journey as you've done your strategy with money. I heard a whole bunch of that in what you just said.
Yeah.
So tell me about your money mindset journey into creating STATT Financial.
Yeah. So shout out to my UT brother and man, Mr. Ed Butowski. And for people that don't know him, look him up. Ed Butowski is the front runner for why the documentary that came out with ESPN's 30 for 30 broke. It was his research that brought that about, right? And he was actually on the document, on the whatever it's called, the documentary.
Documentary, yep.
He was actually on the documentary. And so watching that, man, scared the bejesus out of me because I'm just like, Bro, you mean to tell me that you put in all this work and then after that, like, there's nothing to be said for anything that you've done financially after it, and it's all predicated off of, like, to keep it real, man, it's predicated off of ignorance. You got to look at it from a standpoint, Busy. Why STATT Financial got started, and now we're a part of a company called Athlete Alliance. So it's a private membership association. We can dive into that a little later, but
Right.
but why STATT Financial was started is I came into the financial world. I didn't want a series license because I felt like with those licenses, you're controlled by the government on what it is that you can actually do for your clients. It's heavily SEC regulated, Security Exchange Commission. So it's heavily SEC regulated for my athletes, not the conference, right? And and so what happens is it doesn't allow you to truly find solutions for your client. It's more about pushing the product that fits the government's financial agenda. I wanted to find true solutions. I don't believe that you have to take a lot of risk to have return. I believe in compounded interest. These were my principles. I believe in safe returns, guaranteed returns, contractual returns. Those are the things that I truly believe in because I understand the window of finance for athletes. It's extremely small. We just talked about it, 3 to 4 years, right? So if you only are making this amount of money in this window, how do we elongate that? You elongate it by protecting the principal and then putting it in things that allow it to earn, interest. So what do I mean? You keep mama and daddy safe and you spend the babies, right? That's what you do. And so how do we do that to the best of our ability? Alternative investments. And so one of the things that we used that we found to be extremely a useful tool is insurance and annuities. And so that's where we started, but we've elevated since then.
This is perfect, because what I like to specify for being in my 50s and starting over, people that are in their season 2.0, their second chapter, their second season, they've got that same window that you just spoke about that athletes have. So can you kind of lead me down the path of maybe if somebody's in their 40s or their 50s and they started over financially, if their 401k got blown out the window because they needed to survive, because they got left from a job, they did anything, what would you suggest would be one of the first things that they do as far as if they got in touch with you, we did whatever. Let's talk about just the mindset. How do I kind of reset my mind? Like, okay, I have to start over now. I'm 52 years old. I got about $4 in the bank, but I got a job or I started a new career. How can I use my small window to go in a positive direction?
The first thing is for me, it's all about mindset, right? The good book says that you have to renew your mind daily, right? And so first and foremost, you have to be willing to open your mind to opportunities because there's opportunities all around us. So the thing is that if you've been blessed to have that much time on this earth, then there's a skill set that you already possess. It's called wisdom. We just have to identify what that looks like, who your market is to be able to bring that value to, and then we're going to put it in a book and sell it. I believe in product, right? So I have all types of products. So the first thing I would do if somebody of that caliber was my client, the first thing I'm going to do is make them go buy or go get my book, The Alignment of Belief in Becoming, right? So go to statebooks.com/belief. And I did that for a reason, because unless you're aligned with your beliefs, it doesn't matter what you're trying to do. It's not going to work. Money is a spiritual entity. And so money is not, you don't make money, you attract it. And so the thing is that you can't attract anything extrinsically that you're not intrinsically. So the reason why a lot of people are not getting the thing that they want, which is the finance, is because they haven't done the work. There's a be, do, have principle. In order for you to have the life you want, you have to do the thing to become the person in order to have the life. And that thing is looking yourself inside the mirror, dealing with all of those darknesses, those demons, those misconceptions that you have about where you are with your age, about what you are as it pertains where you are financially, and understand this is just one portion of the story. If I'm able to, if I feel like I'm failing, then the way everything has two sides. So the way that you create success is you flip failure upside down. That's it.
Nice.
You just flip it upside down, and then you do work hard, but you don't work hard for money. I think that's a misconception. People are always working hard for money. I'm not going to work hard for money, and I learned this principle from Myron. I'm not going to act like this is mine. I learned it from somebody.
It's Mr. Golden, right? Yeah, bro. I study him quite often,
and a lot of people should. But one of the things that he said is, don't work hard for money. Work hard for work hard at a skill. Because when you master the skill will attract the money. So like for me, like being in the insurance game, just to give a quick synopsis, being in the insurance game, that's a macro approach. But I had that approach when I got into the game. Many people in this space take a myopic approach. They're short-sighted. So they're just trying to peddle product, right? And you can feel that as a potential client, right? As a consumer, you can feel that. So for me, I created product, and one of the products I created is free because I wanted to give value to people first. And if they found value in the things that I said, then they would support me financially, right? And so now what happens is that you take that, right, and then you move that into your service. So for somebody to answer your question, that was the long way of going around it, but I want people to get as much.
But it had gems in it. It had gems in it. So keep it moving.
But for somebody that is in their 50s, we're going to look at what skill set do you possess? What have you done in that tenure of life that can be of value to people? And then how do we articulate that enough to be able to word that in a book setting and then get that out into the market? And then there's spinoffs from that. There's speaking engagements that come from that. There's all types of other services. So that's just one way. But we would need to sit down and figure out what type of individual you are first to determine how we're going to get that done. And then you have to be, the last thing I'll say too is somebody that's in their 50s is you have to be open you have to be open to understanding that just because you've been doing something one way doesn't mean it's the right way. And that's hard.
Say that one more time for the people in the back.
You have to be open to understanding that just because you've been doing something for a long time one way doesn't mean that it's the right way.
Correct.
Right? And if you're open to that, and if you're open to being adaptable, then you're going to have success. And I'll say this is the last thing I say. You can ask me the next question. But there's a book by Angela Duckworth called Grit. I think that a lot of people should read that book. It's about perseverance, understanding. She takes it from a psychological and scientific aspect. But one of the things that she said is necessity is the mother of adaptation. Necessity is the mother of adaptation. So in my mind, I'm starting to ask questions. Well, then why? Why would necessity, how does need cause you to adapt? Because when you need to pay them lights, you looking for all different types of ways to make that money, right?
Yes,
when
sir.
you need to feed your family, you're looking for all of the different, like regardless of what your thought process or your belief was, I need to take care of this. I'm willing to listen, right? That's a good place to be in if you're being led by the right people.
I read Russell Simmons' autobiography, and he always said that if you live life in starving wolf mode, you'll never get caught off guard. If you're always that hungry wolf at all times and you're not that restful lamb, you'll always eat because you're in that mode all the time. And if you look back at the whole how he started Def Jam, he did everything. You look at the old school movie Crush Grooves and all that. Russell Simmons was in that wolf mode at all times. You got to think about Def Comedy Jams, all the careers and all the stuff he did. Now he's, sitting on an island somewhere and doing kumbaya for whatever reason. We'll get into that. But it is that survival mode.
Yeah.
The survival mode. That was pretty much how if you stay in survival mode, not when the boat is going down, the boat can be right. No leaks, no nothing. Yeah. But you're still in that mode.
Yeah.
If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
I think, and to give just a little pushback, I think that part of the mode is what I want, but everything else you can lose me with. And the reason why I say that is you do need to have that hunger, but I believe that hunger, which is why I brought up that book, comes from passion. And so what happens is people, when you lose hope, you lose everything. And so passion, hope, and expectation. How does Yeshua, how does he get on the cross and give his life for all of the people? Is because the scriptures talk about that he had the expectation of an unexpected end. He set the joy before him. Meaning what? That after I go through this, I'm going to sit on the right hand of my Father. So because I have that expectation, I'm willing to go through the most gruesome thing that anybody has ever gone through in life, right? When you lose, and that's how Satan worked. He removed hope and he removed your expectations. So now you just walking around here like there's a show that came out on AMC called The Walking Dead. Many people walk like that. And especially when you're older, because instead of you looking and setting the joy before you about what can potentially be there for you in your future,
Correct.
You too busy looking in the past. Well, the last time I looked at a vehicle, there's a small rearview mirror and a big windshield. The one you look out the most is the life that's where you're gonna end up in your destination. It's hard to drive looking in the rearview mirror and driving straight.
Andre 3000 says spaceships don't have rearview mirrors.
They don't. But
so many people, though, you're correct. I have relatives that literally, I love my uncles to death, man, but all they do is talk about the old days. That's all they do, whether they're fussing at each other, they're giving each other a high five.
Yeah.
It's everything that happened when I was 8 and younger. That's the 70s, bro. And when I challenge them to then do something that you talked about what you're going to do, I get the excuses. Well, I can't. I didn't. I said, where's that energy you had then?
Yeah.
You're so busy being judgmental of telling everybody else how they need to do. Go ahead and set that standard.
Yeah.
Show me how it's done and quit living in the past is the past for a reason.
Yeah.
You know. And you said something, but I noticed one thing, man. You are strong in your faith.
Oh man, absolutely.
You know. So how does your belief in your faith principles, how have they helped you actually with what you do now, and especially with people having an emotional journey, either starting over, whether they're young in athletics or older like myself trying to start over again? How has faith in your belief helped your business?
Oh, well, I don't have to think as much, and what I mean by that is, like, thinking is important. Let me make sure that I preface this statement by saying that thinking is the most important thing that I believe that a lot of people don't do, right? But when I say think as much, meaning that as long as I'm following the biblical principles that I believe to be true, then I don't have to think about, was this the right move? I know it was, because this is what the Bible told me to do. Now, if I fall short of that, that's on me. But as it pertains to what I'm supposed to do, and I'm a person that, you got to think about it as an athlete. You take marching orders. There's some similarities in the military as it pertains to when they tell you to do something, you do it. Well, when you look at, and if you read the Old Testament of the Bible, there's a lot of that in there. And it tells you, like, hey, if you do these particular things and you do them this way, then this is the lifestyle that I'm going to provide for you. If you do these particular things and you do them against what I'm asking you to do, then this is the lifestyle that comes with that. So I just looked at the two things and said, well, I'm going to just do this to the best of my ability. So now what happens is that now creativity, wisdom, and with all our wisdom get understanding. So it's not just about gaining the principle of something, but it's about understanding what that principle is and how do you apply that principle to your life so that you can not only serve others, but you can serve yourself. I think that it's important for you to serve yourself. And how do you serve yourself? You serve yourself with knowledge. You serve yourself with prayer. You serve yourself with your faith. You serve yourself with your belief. The hardest thing for most people is they lack faith. Like they talk about faith, but here's what I mean when you lack faith. You jump in some MLM because some guy said, or multi-level marketing, right? For our viewers out there that might not know what MLM is, but somebody is out there, he's saying he's making $150,000. He started from the bottom. He was sleeping in the car. He stayed at his mom's house. People made fun of him. And all of a sudden, boom, he figured it out, right? Here's the reality of that. He had faith that he was going to be where he is. So all of that stuff might have been what was part of the journey, but the end result is I'm just going to keep going because I understand that the only way I can truly lose if I quit. What happens to most people is as soon as adversity hits, instead of you holding on to the faith of you're going to be successful no matter what, you start looking at the circumstance more than you start looking at the creator. So that's the same way that Satan was able to trick Eve and Adam in the garden. He got them to focus on lack more than they were focused on abundance, right?
Right.
All the trees in the garden you can eat except for this one. So instead of looking at everything that was around them and all the opportunity of abundance, they focused on the lack. And that's what people do today. But they say they have faith. Faith is about you being able to understand that although this situation is true, that's not my expected end. So I'm going to do what I have to do to go through this, because what you go through is what you go through. You just make sure that you grow through. I'm going to do what I need to do to go through this, but this is not where I'm going to be at the end of this journey. And that takes faith. You have to be able to, even with all of these inspirational words that I give, you're still going to have to wake up in the morning and your situation might not change. So do you have the mental and intrinsic fortitude to continue to press forward. And that's why I say you have to align your belief, because if you don't, then when these things take place, you're going to crumble.
So let me ask you this. What would be your 4 tenets of building generational wealth?
Yeah. So the first one is going to be structure, right? Understanding how to be structured in this country, right? Because structure dictates function, right? So what does that look like? What does that even mean? Nelson Rockefeller talked about it. He dropped breadcrumbs. The wealthy will do that. They'll drop breadcrumbs and let you know certain things. And he said the key to success is to own nothing but to control everything. Mm-hmm. So then ownership is not the end game. Control is, right? Because if you own things in America, then most of the way that you are able to own it is based off of governmental assets. Like, for instance, S corps, LLCs, these things. They're all governmental assets, which means the government has access to it. But trust structures, depending on the type of trust structures that you have, the government can't grab access to that. So structure dictates function. So that's the first thing. The next thing is protection, right? The protection of what? The protection of principal and asset. That's it. That's all it is. When you're looking to build wealth, you have principal, meaning the money that you've made with whatever service or product or anything or business like that you have.
Correct.
And then you have assets, right? And the assets can be in ways of alternative investments. They can be in, real estate, whatever that looks like, right? And other products, right? Somebody that has a T-shirt business, their asset is the clothing that they put out, right? So principal and assets. So structure, protection. After that, it's use. And what do we mean by use? Meaning that how do we take the thing that we've garnered, right, that principle, that asset, and have that go out and produce, right? So we want that production to happen. And then the last thing is legacy transfer. How do we've built all of this stuff up. Let's say we've built $1 billion entity, business or whatever, but now we're getting ready to transition on to another plane. How do we pass that over without allowing the government to get its hands on it, right, in the proper way? And so those are the things that when we're dealing with our athletes, those are the 4 tenets that we focus on, that we found that work the best as it pertains to building that wealth.
And I think in any stage of your journey, those 4 things can be applied to whatever you're trying to do.
Absolutely.
I mean, amazingly enough. I mean, do you think the mental switch, when you got a kid that's going from nothing to something, how hard is that to kind of rally and pull them in? I asked that question because when you have somebody in their 40s or 50s that's going from something to nothing, it's going to be a mental change. But how hard has it been to get these guys to understand the importance of the 4 tenets that you just spoke on?
It's not hard because we only work with people that want to understand it, right? I always say this, man, it's much easier to flow with the stream than against it. You cannot beat human psychology. You just can't. So what happens for those that are not ready, that's okay. There's something called a paradigm shift. And when that happens, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. But for those that are already seeking that, right, it's just like wisdom. Like wisdom is quiet. Foolishness is loud. You have to seek wisdom in order to find it. It's not out there just saying, hey, y'all, I'm here. Wisdom whispers. And so if you want your life to be a certain way, we have the tool sets, the team, the skill sets, and the tenure, right, with the people that we have to be able to help you accomplish that. But we're not in a situation where we finna beg y'all to get y'all self right. That's just not what we're doing. So what we've done is we've identified those people that want the information, and then we focus our time on them, right? And that's a biblical principle too. A lot of people don't think of that. They might hear me saying and be like, well, what about the other people? Well, the scriptures tell you don't cast your pearls to swine. Meaning what? Meaning that to a pig, if I put a diamond in a slot pad, that's just food. But to a human, they finna go in there and beat that pig down to get that diamond because they understand the value of it, and it's going to change their life and probably change the financial trajectory of their family as well. So they're willing to wrestle that pig and go in after that pig for that diamond. So it's about understanding what the value is and being able to deal with people that can identify that there's value here. I want to be a part of it.
I've said this 1,000 times, and I wasn't a believer in it until I actually did it. People will invest in materialistic things, but they won't invest in what it takes for them to actually succeed. People think that mentorships are always a way for somebody. And don't get me wrong, people have been suckered or didn't get all the information you want. But here's the deal. A lot of times you do get what you pay for. I find some really valuable things. I've had some free seminars. I've got some free information that was great, but it was just the cover.
Surface.
They didn't lift it up to see what was in there. And like you said at the beginning, it was what they had that was valuable enough for me to pay for it to actually get to where I see it. A good friend of mine, Deshaun Jackson, he's a photographer, and he was dope. He's dope. He's good. And I was like, man, why is this dude so good? And he says, because I stopped playing and I went and paid for a mentor. I got a mentor, somebody that has the blueprint and does it better than me, and they were able to give me the insights and took the time to do it. And that's why it was dope. And I just keep hearing people talk about pay for mentorship. We talk about Myron Goldman, Omar, which is his student that I take a lot of stuff from. It's just that when you start to invest in yourself, those pair of Jordans over there, that brand new Cadillac, that Mercedes, all that stuff is not an asset. Not at all. And you can't even say it's something that you've gotten from what you've done if you've done nothing.
Yeah.
Invest in your education to better yourself. I think in the Season 2.0 crowd, I say that all the time.
Yeah.
Try to get as much as you can. Once you find your why, once you're searching your clarity, there's somebody else that's already done what you've done. They've written the blueprint. Don't be scared to open it up and look at it.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do what they think is what they're doing. And what you said earlier, you know, just because you do it one way doesn't mean it's the right way for it to be done.
Correct.
Man, so I am definitely going to link all of your information at the bottom for today's podcast. But the one thing I want to leave here with, I want to ask you one last question. Do you think is there a such thing as indestructible wealth?
Yes.
What would you define that to be?
Knowledge. One word. Wisdom and knowledge. It's going to always come back to that principle, right? It was already given to us. And that's what I tell most people. The reason why people look at me and be like, man, you don't be worried about nothing. Because I already know the end result. God already told it to me. I guess I'm just crazy enough to believe that the person that created all of this stuff wouldn't lie to me in this book. He already said he a God that cannot lie.
Right.
So it's not on him, it's on me. That's why faith without works is dead. So indestructible wealth is wisdom, getting wisdom, and then getting understanding of that wisdom. And that is how you apply the knowledge. You understand those three things and that principle, then everything else is just time. And then if that's the case, then you just have patience. It's just a lot of times, man, people are tempted by the world. And what I mean by the worldly temptation, Busy, is that they want to get to a particular place in life so that the crowd or the people can see that there's somebody, as opposed to doing the work internally so that you can please your Lord and your Savior. And what happens is that when you do those things in private, then he'll elevate you in public. And for me, I'd rather him elevate me in public, because I would hate for my talent and my wisdom and to take me somewhere to a level where my character can't keep me. To me, that's a downfall.
Well said. Well said.
I'm good.
Give me the name of your book one more again. We're going to have the link in here, but what's the name of your book one more time?
So the name of the book is called The Alignment of Belief and Becoming, right? And that's the free guide. So you just go to statebooks.com. And then it's so funny, I'll pub this one too.
Please.
When we were talking about transition, I wrote a book for athletes, but it fits the narrative of transition, period. But it's called What to Do When It's Done, Navigating Life After the Game. And that book is specifically about transitioning from an athlete into the real world. But the principles in that book can go for anybody. And for that one, all you have to do is go to statebooks.com/transition, and you'll be able to get that one.
Oh, that'll be in the description, man. I got you covered, man. Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your busy schedule for coming through. And she ain't in the picture, but I'm going to say shout out to Miss Alicia, because she is the person jack of all trades behind the scenes that does a thing and makes sure everybody's on time. All of us are around here. So, man, I thank you for coming out. I appreciate you.
Man, absolutely, brother. Appreciate you.
It's
man.
probably the smartest episode I've ever had. Until next y'all, this is what we call Rewind and Press Forward.